My older brother, Henry, falsely accused me of sexual assault 8 years ago. Growing up, he was always the favored child in our family. Even when he struggled in school, my parents supported him enthusiastically, while I often felt my achievements were overlooked. For instance, while he received lavish celebrations for milestones like high school graduation, I received minimal acknowledgement. Despite this, Henry and I got along reasonably well, though we pursued our own interests. I eventually moved away for college and earned an MBA over 5 years. Upon returning home, I focused on building my career, seeing my family mainly on birthdays and holidays. Henry, who never excelled academically, dropped out of college. With my parents' help, he opened a small hardware store. I was supportive but kept my distance, focusing on my own life. Meanwhile, I had a girlfriend named Jenny, whom I met in college and moved in with after graduation. When Jenny met my family during the 2006 holidays, they welcomed her warmly, making me feel more appreciated than ever before. During these gatherings, I noticed Henry showing interest in Jenny, but I didn't think much of it initially. However, he began visiting my home frequently, far more than I was comfortable with. I had to set boundaries, explaining that while he was welcome, daily visits were excessive, especially in the evenings. One evening, Jenny and I were unwinding after work when a heated argument erupted between my parents and me about Henry's frequent visits. Eventually, he apologized and agreed to limit his visits to once a month on weekends, which suited me fine. He would engage in small talk with Jenny during these visits, but nothing more. This arrangement continued until 2009 when I proposed to Jenny, and we announced our engagement to our families. While my parents were thrilled, Henry's reaction was subdued. He simply shook my hand and left the small gathering I had organized. I didn't see him again for about 2 weeks. We married in 2010. During this time, Henry introduced us to his new girlfriend, Kate. I hope this signaled his moving on from any feelings toward Jenny. They married quickly, but their relationship faltered, leading to a divorce in 2012. Shortly after, Kate informed me that Henry's unresolved feelings for Jenny were a significant factor in their breakup. Jenny, however, had always felt Kate was distant towards her from the beginning. Confronting Henry in front of our family, I questioned why his fixation on Jenny was sabotaging his life. Caught off guard, he lied, leading to a heated argument. Eventually, I forgave him and allowed him back into my life at the urging of Jenny and our parents, who emphasized family unity. Things seemed to improve, and we moved forward. Then, in 2015, a pivotal moment occurred. On July 25th, amidst a busy day with our kids visiting their grandparents, I received a frantic call from my dad. When I arrived at their house, the atmosphere was tense. Jenny was in tears, and my extended family was present. Confused, I asked what was going on, only to be accused by my parents of an incident involving a girl from a recent party. According to them, I had allegedly threatened her with consequences if she spoke about something that never happened. After the party at a club, the girl showed Jenny screenshots of what she claimed was a threatening call from me. My father reacted harshly, disowning me along with my mother, and Jenny declared our relationship over. When my father brought Jenny and the kids' belongings to my apartment, he warned me never to contact them again, threatening to involve the police if I did. That evening, Henry shared the screenshots and story on our family's WhatsApp group, leading to unanimous condemnation. Friends called to express disgust, severing ties. I struggled to function, unable to eat, sleep, or work properly. Despite my boss's sympathy, I had to leave my job to avoid legal repercussions. In mid-August, amidst despair, I received divorce papers and a disownment letter. Despite being inebriated, I visited my parents, where Henry physically attacked me while they and Jenny watched without intervening. Eventually, I left, shattered and realizing I had lost everything. During the divorce proceedings, I avoided contact, leading to an arrangement where I didn't have to pay support due to unemployment. By January 2016, I was officially divorced, but rebuilding was daunting. Despite wanting closure with Amanda, I feared legal repercussions. In February 2016, a serious accident hospitalized me for 5 weeks. Staff attempted to contact Jenny, but she hung up, leaving me to recover alone. Upon discharge, I depleted my savings, sold belongings, and relocated 2 hours away in search of a fresh start. Despite efforts, finding work proved challenging. Battling depression, I often contemplated suicide. For 4 months, Jenny endured nightmares that left her waking in a cold sweat. During this time, I unexpectedly encountered an old college acquaintance, James, known for his reserved nature. Despite the years apart, he recognized me in a crowd and struck up a conversation. I shared my recent move to the city in search of work, and he revealed plans to launch his own management consulting firm. James invited me for a drink to discuss potential opportunities. Over our conversation, he offered me a position, emphasizing the need for capable team members. Eager to regain focus, I accepted, with the condition of meeting the team first. 2 days later, I met Derek, another member of the startup. Before committing, I confided in them about my turbulent past, including the rejection and divorce that ensued. Moved by my story, James and Derek assured me that my clean record was reassuring. While renting a modest apartment to save money, I waited anxiously for 2 weeks, exploring backup job options. James eventually confirmed my spot on the team, noting my clean record. Immersing myself in work and following Derek's advice, I began therapy and joined a gym, channeling my emotions into fitness. By the end of 2018, I regained stability. My coaching business thrived, and I moved into a comfortable apartment in a better neighborhood. With newfound confidence, I decided to legally change my last name at the courthouse, adopting Derek's surname with his and his parents' approval. They welcomed me into their lives, treating me like family, even including me in significant events like Derek's wedding. Despite attempts at dating in 2019, my lingering mental health issues posed challenges. I started dating Kim, who was half Korean and half Italian, after meeting her at a coffee shop where she worked. Initially, we only interacted during my visits, but one day, Derek noticed her interest in me and encouraged me to ask her out. Nervously, I invited her for drinks, and our first date went well. Aware of my past's impact on relationships, I decided to disclose everything during our second lunch together, allowing her to make an informed decision. Kim was taken aback but appreciated my honesty. She called a few days later, expressing her willingness to continue seeing me. Our relationship blossomed, and we enjoyed dates and even traveled to Europe together. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, we maintained our connection through calls and FaceTime. By mid-2020, as things began to normalize, Kim asked to move in with me after losing her job at the coffee shop. With financial support from her parents, she started a successful cloud kitchen nearby. By mid-2021, our lives were stable. Despite ongoing emotional challenges, I found solace in our relationship and therapy sessions. In February 2023, Kim shared the news of her pregnancy, stirring a mix of emotions in me. Overwhelmed, I proposed, and she happily accepted. Finally, it seemed my life was turning a corner towards peace. Plans for our June wedding were underway, marking a hopeful chapter. In late May, a call from an unknown number changed everything. When I answered, Amanda's tearful voice greeted me, triggering a flood of emotions. Knowing her history with my brother, I cut the call, struggling to contain my anger. Kim, sensing my distress, intervened. When the phone rang again, she answered, putting it on speaker. Amanda's fiancé apologized on her behalf, claiming she wanted to express remorse. Emotionally overwhelmed, Kim handled most of the conversation while I struggled to compose myself. Later, Kim and I consulted Derek, who suggested involving a lawyer to safeguard against future complications. I contacted my lawyer, arranging a meeting where Amanda and her fiancé joined us. The meeting, recorded for clarity, allowed Amanda to confess her role in the fabricated accusations from 2015. She revealed my brother's involvement and her actions fueled by misguided love. Despite my initial sadness and anger, Kim's support prevented the situation from escalating. Amanda's confession brought closure, but questions lingered. Her fiancé explained that recent events prompted her guilt-driven confession, revealing her past actions. While emotions ran high, Kim's assertiveness ensured our stance was clear. We demanded accountability and clarity, refusing to let the past disrupt our future. The truth finally emerged when Amanda confessed that Henry, after plotting with her, grew distant and cold towards her. Their relationship deteriorated within 6 months, leaving Amanda burdened with guilt. She sought therapy to confront her actions and eventually revealed everything during our lawyer-mediated meeting. After the intense discussion, our lawyer advised a 30-minute break before deciding on legal actions. Amanda and Mark left, and during this interval, Kim comforted me, affirming her support and relief at having the truth revealed. James and Derek, both serving as best men, supported us at our intimate wedding. Following our celebration, Kim and I enjoyed a 3-week honeymoon across Europe, creating cherished memories despite occasional nightmares that troubled me. With Kim's unwavering support and guidance from my therapist, I resolved to address lingering issues with my ex-family. By July, I decided to confront Amanda, outlining steps for her to rectify the damage caused. I insisted she disclose the truth to Jenny privately and undertake necessary actions to mitigate the harm done. Amanda tearfully agreed, revealing Mark had left her. Though I found it hard to sympathize, I acknowledged the repercussions of her actions. Shortly after, Jenny reached out, prompting me to send birthday wishes to our daughters and exchange holiday greetings after 8 years of silence. During our emotional phone call, Jenny tearfully apologized, acknowledging her regret and explaining how she was deceived by Henry. We discussed our daughters, and she informed me of Amanda's recent revelation to her and my ex-parents, who were equally shocked. Jenny expressed a desire to apologize to me personally before disclosing her hasty marriage to Henry post-divorce, driven by his support during that tumultuous period. After setting clear expectations regarding co-parenting and communication, I arranged to meet my ex-parents, aiming to establish a civil relationship moving forward. Afterwards, I held Kim close, mindful of her pregnancy and our shared emotional journey. Together, we found solace in each other's support as we navigated the complexities of rebuilding our lives. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was off. Turning it back on to charge, I found over 50 missed calls and many texts. I was added to the family group chat where everyone was apologizing. Over the next few days, friends also texted apologies for their hasty actions. I informed the family group that I had been estranged for 8 years and preferred to remain distant. I requested not to be added back and left the group. I made it clear that any forgiveness would come in my own time, not theirs. Some family members tried to shame me, unhappy with my reaction. I reminded them they couldn't judge without knowing the full story and asked not to be contacted unless necessary. A few weeks later, I asked Jenny to bring my daughters, Alice and Sarah, to my house for the weekend. Kim, determined as ever, insisted on meeting them despite being pregnant. We met in a park. Jenny appeared disheveled but had made an effort. Seeing Alice and Sarah after 8 years, I was overwhelmed. Jenny tearfully tried to hug me, but I held her back. Introducing Kim as my wife, Jenny cried uncontrollably. Tim, a friend, comforted her as we sat nearby. Embracing my daughters, I exclaimed, "My girls." They were confused but emotional, having only known me through photos. They talked and cried, sharing our lives since we last met. Jenny explained she married Henry a year after we parted. Initially supportive, he struggled to sustain his gardening business and eventually closed it, relying on his parents' savings. Jenny was divorcing him due to his behavior. I assured Jenny her choices didn't affect me and proposed family therapy to rebuild our relationship. I wanted to be part of Alice and Sarah's lives and eventually introduce them to Kim and our upcoming child. Jenny mentioned my parents wanted to talk. Despite the disownment letter, I agreed to meet, arranging a hotel room for her to stay nearby while I spent time with my daughters. We enjoyed Sunday together, exploring the city. Before they left, Alice and Sarah hugged me tightly, promising to return next week. I assured Jenny I would handle the girls' transport to therapy sessions. In therapy, my counselor advised disclosing Henry's actions to Alice and Sarah eventually. While hesitant, I acknowledged the importance of their knowing the truth. Regarding Henry, I grappled with the desire never to see him again and the option of legal action for defamation. I'm cautious, knowing his daughter could be affected. I'm open to discussing any questions or advice you may have.